Hi, I see you, Dean. I see you, and your cult data says MMIW is a Native American religious practice. And then you got MMIP and deranged. Derangocide by RCMP. All these things in the tic-tac-toe thing. I have no idea what that means. I think it's a hashtag. So let's talk about a few things, Mr. Dean. Goolsberry. Ooh, you must have a ghoulish look. Oh, that you? That you right there in the corner? That little smiley black guy there? Well, let's chat, shall we? You want to talk about cults? Let's talk about cults. Helter Skelter, aka Charles Manson, who did a life in prison and never cut up anybody. But all of his minions, those hot chicks, that one black guy, the Token. Oh, there you are. You're a Token. That's what you are, because you're the first black guy to send me one of these. So you're the Token. Okay. So first, before we continue with Charles Manson, you should know that I'm part black, I'm part Native, I'm also part white, but I'm not a cult. You, on the other hand, you're pretty much a cult, and you're in a Token, because you are the fourth guy to send me some crap like this. MMIP is not a religious movement. You do not see us going around with fucking collection plates. By the way, I should have said you don't see them going around with collection plates. Yeah, there are some people who may sell some shirts, may sell some beaded jewelry, but all those people are Native. And 9 out of 10, their items bill money for MMIP to do the activist thing. However, there are some Native activists that have nothing to do with MMIP, but they still fight for Native rights. But apparently, you don't know the difference between a movement and a cult. Black Lives Matter, movement. All Lives Matter, movement. Back to Blue, movement. Helter Skelter, fucking cult. Hellbop Comet, drink the Kool-Aid and we're going to all drop dead and ride on the Hellbop Comet. Cult. Branch Davidians, David Koresh, getting all those people totally messed up in the late 90s in Texas. Cult. Jim Jones, cult. And yet you want to say MMIW, MMIP, MMIP and Two Spirits, MMIW, B and G and Two Spirits. All these names are cults. And not just cults, religious cults. Yeah, but they're not walking around with collection plates. They're not telling people to go and unalive people. They're not telling people, hey, if you jump off this cliff, you're going to be a native in the next life and you're going to live forever. You see, that's cult stuff. That's David Koresh and the Branch Davidians. That's the Hellpop Comet guy. That's Helter Skelter, Charles Manson. But I'm sure you pretty much know about that because you said cult data says, but you don't seem to understand that MMIP is 1000% not a cult and not a religious movement. It is a movement, but it's not a religious movement. It has nothing to do with the Creator, Great Spirit, the God, the Lord, the Daddy of Jesus, Sky Daddy, whatever the hell you want to believe in. MMIW has nothing to do with that. MMIP has nothing to do with that. Missing and murdered indigenous people. Did you miss the part about missing and murdered? Because see, that's the most important part. Not only are they missing, but they are often found murdered. Remember, check the landfills. I mean, you're sending me something from Canada, and you know how long it took for them to check the landfills for the missing and murdered indigenous women who they found, 9, 11 bodies? Because, TikTok has been silencing a lot of MMIP creators, but, it's a cult. You keep saying, it's a cult. It's a cult. It's a cult. Well, here's what I have to say to you. First, you might want to do your research on what a cult actually is. Because if you're a Trump supporter, you're in a cult. Why do I say that? Because MAGA is a cult. And why do I say that? Because anybody who has to pay a millionaire's lawyer fees is really, really up somebody's ass, or she's got really good vagina, or you're really fucking stupid. I would go with the first two. They're really up that person's ass, or they're really stupid because Trump doesn't have a vagina. Anyway, he likes to grab women by that, and he has been found guilty of at least one account of that. But anyway, this has nothing to do with Trump. But we're going to talk about cults. Like I said, the Branch Davidians. You know those guys in Texas that took out like a whole bunch of people in Waco and the FBI and them had to go in and do some unceremonious things to men, women, and children who were willing to die for David Koresh. That's a cult. That is a cult. Jim Jones, that is a cult. Maybe these names don't ring a bell to you because you're in a cult and you just don't know it, which is generally how that happens. Most people in a cult, they don't know that they're in a cult. However, MMIP is not a cult. All right, by the way, while anybody's watching this video, you should know that we are officially about to enter a whole year of the Navajo Nation not having water rights. But you guys are going to say that I'm in a cult. And I know the Navajo Nation right now not having water rights has nothing to do with MMIP, but at the same time, this little asshat here has told me that I'm in a cult. Maybe not in so many words, but, you know, cult data says that missing and murdered indigenous people is a cult or a religious practice. And then it has a hashtag or a tic-tac-toe sign, ICWA. I have no idea what that means. Then it has another one with MMIP. And then it has Derangicide, and then it has RCMP. And we all know that the RCMP took forever to try and search those landfills for those bodies, right? Yeah, but, you know, they don't care because the people who they're looking for are actually indigenous people. They were First Nations tribal people who were unalived by some asshat. But this guy in this little circle right here thinks that it's a religious cult. Yet he doesn't understand that the Hell Pop comic people were people who drank the cyanide and the Kool-Aid because they thought they were going to leave their bodies and jump on a comet as it passed by South California. So, yeah, they literally all drank the Kool-Aid. And then there was the Jim Jones cult, you know, and we all know that didn't work out very well. And then there was the Branch Davidians, and we know that didn't work out very well. And before that, yes, before that, that was Helter Skelter, a song by the Beatles, but some little moron named Charles Manson decided, hey, let's go and do something to Sharon Tate. Although he was not there, he influenced them very, very much to go and try to take a baby out of a woman's body while she was still alive. But, you know, you're too busy telling me that I'm in a cult because I support MMIP. Yet, you don't know what the fuck a cult is, clearly. Except for the cult that you're in, they keep sending me these damn things because you're the fourth guy. You're the first token, though. So congratulations on being the first person of color. You're a token, by the way, who sent me this. Nobody else black has sent me this. Only white dudes, and it was 3 of those guys. And I made them a friendly video, just like I'm making you. Now let's talk about Leonard Peltier while I have your attention. Leonard Peltier is a Native American activist who has been in prison since I was born, back in 1973. I believe he went in 76. He might have went in 73, but it doesn't really matter because he's almost 80 and he needs to come home. But of course, somehow or another, you're going to think that AIM is also a cult. But AIM, American Indian Movement, but that doesn't affect you because this is RCMP, which means your ass is in Canada. So maybe you ought to do some research before you start telling people from America that they're in a cult. However, I can call you a token because clearly you are a person of color, including those other 3 dudes were not tokens because they were all white cats. You, my friend, are a person of color, so that means you are a token. So, you're a token. How dare you insist that I'm in a cult when you have been tokenized by the same people who have sent me this message before? Doesn't feel good to be a token, does it? So we're both going to be in that same room, and one of us is going to give the other one the eyebrow. And then one of us is going to do, only one brother can be in this company of these white people at the time. But congratulations, because I'm going to leave. I'm not being your fucking token. So you have a good day, token. I hope that the world comes to you the way it's supposed to, with peace and love. And I hope that you never have anybody in your family go missing or be unalive while you're trying to tell me that I am in a cult. I hope none of your family members ever join a cult, because then you're really going to have hard work to do at getting them out. Don't forget, the Branch Davidians, there were some survivors. Maybe you ought to read about that. It's called Waco, Texas, the David Koresh story. How about you do that, big guy? Be seeing ya. And stop being a token. Follow your own path. And tell them Brave Star sent you.